There is no end to the horrors of Gaza. Firemen trying today to douse flames while using tables to take cover from incoming gunfire. This after an Israeli airstrike against the Yemen hospital in northern Gaza. According to local health authorities, 15 people were killed. This grim tally put the official figure of deaths since October the 7th in Gaza last year above 42,000. But the statistics don't do the pain any justice. Behind every digit and under every bloodied blanket lies a multiplier of tragedies. In southern Lebanon, the dawn call, first from Israeli rocket and then from local rooster. Violence begets violence in this unforgiving neighborhood, and Lebanon has now been fully drafted into the arena of war. Israel and Hezbollah blame each other for starting it. Militarily, Israel has the upper hand, but even a weakened Hezbollah is firing back. Hence the whoosh of Israel's famed Iron Dome. These tufts are what keep Israel safe, shooting down incoming rockets before they can hit their targets. Safe, but not always. A Hezbollah rocket managed to get through this afternoon, killing 2 Israelis in Kiryat Shmona, a town that had long been reduced to a community of absences. Since hardly anyone has been living here since Hezbollah started their attacks last year, those who were killed today must have been cursed in the lottery of death. Israel feels besieged by enemies outside its cramped borders and by those within. This was the aftermath of a second stabbing in a week. 2 assailants on a motorbike managed to stab 6 Israelis. Some of them are still in critical condition. One assailant was killed by police. The other has been arrested.
We will settle the score with all those involved in this attack, from the person who sent him, who convinced him in a mosque or anywhere else, who led him to jump on a motorbike and attack Jews for no reason. And therefore we will check everyone.
Israel and its many enemies are trading terror. And if today's attacks were acts of revenge, well, there's plenty of vengeance to go round. And none more consequential than Israel's answer to Iran's rain of missiles 8 days ago. Hence a snapshot of today's much-awaited phone call in which the Israeli Prime Minister is apparently discussing his list of Iranian targets with the American president. We don't know the what, the when, or the what next, but every new day in this cursed and beguiling land feels like a beginning with a potentially horrific end. Well, let's get more now from our Foreign Affairs correspondent, Sikander Kamani, who is live in Beirut. Sikander, what really struck you today?
Well, Matt, first let's turn to events on the border between Lebanon and Israel. Hezbollah there say they pushed back Israeli soldiers in a number of locations and launched attacks on them in the village of Maroun el-Ras. That's where yesterday we saw images of Israeli troops hoisting an Israeli flag and destroying a statue of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard commander Qasem Soleimani. Israeli forces, for their part, say they've been seizing Hezbollah weapons and destroying Hezbollah tunnels in southern Lebanon. Matt, you mentioned there the deadly Hezbollah rocket attacks on Israel. As you also said, there have been further deadly airstrikes here in Lebanon. One of them just north of the city of Sidon killed at least 4 people when it struck a hotel sheltering displaced people. Looming over the fighting here, though, looming over the entire region, is the threat of this anticipated Israeli strike on Iran. The Israeli defense minister today saying that Iran would not know what had hit it and how. The Iranian foreign minister, though, has been in Saudi Arabia meeting the crown prince. Remember, these two long-time arch-enemies, something of a rapprochement more recently. Iran doesn't want Arab states to allow Israel to use their airspace to launch any attack against them. Last week, it was reported that the Gulf states had pledged neutrality between the two. Both sides, I think, right now readying themselves for the next phase of this already bloody conflict.
Secunda in Beirut. Thanks very much indeed. Well, Sarit Sahawi was a lieutenant colonel in the Israeli Defense Forces. She's also the founder and president of ALMA, an independent research and education center which focuses on Israel's security challenges, especially on its northern border. She joins me now from Tefin in northern Israel. Thank you very much for coming on the program. I just want to start off by asking you about that meeting between the Saudi and the Iranian foreign ministers. How significant is that, do you think?
I'm sorry, I listened to your previous report, and I must begin with my personal experience living 9 kilometers from the border. We don't trade terror. We are fighting terror. My little girl was this week under attack of 30 rockets that were launched deliberately by Hezbollah to my hometown. I'm saying deliberately because Hezbollah stated that it launched these rockets to my hometown, and we had hits in homes over here very close to where we live. So I think we should first put the moral code straight here. Who is the terrorist and who is fighting terror? Now, as for your question, I think that I'm not...
Okay, answer the question then. Go on.
Yeah, of course. I'm not surprised by this meeting. I think that the strategy of the Gulf countries, whether it's Saudi Arabia or the UAE, is to play, we say it in Hebrew, I hope it works in English, all over the soccer field, okay, with both teams. That's fine. This is how it's working in the Middle East. They want to preserve open channels of communication with the Iranians, but at the same time, work with the Americans. And I think we understand that.
Right. And when the defense minister here says that the targets will be, or the strikes will be lethal, surprising, and that they won't know what's hit them, what do you think he has in mind?
Well, I don't know. I can tell you what I hope he has in mind. And I truly hope, I think this is an opportunity. I think this is an opportunity that will serve not only the benefit of the security of Israel, but also the benefit of the global security to target the nuclear weapon sites in Iran, because Iran is progressing towards a nuclear weapon. And this, if this will happen, it will change completely all the power playground between the different players globally, and it's very, very important to make sure that this is not happening. Negotiations until today failed to stop the progress of Iran to nuclear weapon, and we have now a golden opportunity with our allies to fight that.
But it's also a golden opportunity to escalate into something far more dangerous, engulfing the entire region, isn't it?
We are already in a very dangerous situation. As you clearly saw from the findings of the IDF in South Lebanon, Iran was not preparing for peace. The proxies of Iran in the Middle East were not preparing for peace. So our conclusion from what happened just a year ago in October 7th is that we have to eliminate the devastating capabilities of the terrorist enemies that we are facing. Otherwise, they will use their capabilities against us. And when I'm saying us, I don't necessarily mean just Israelis, because the ideology of the Ayatollahs of Iran is an ideology that view the state of Israel as part of something bigger, as part of the West, as part of the Western values. In their point of view, they are not just attacking the Jewish state, they are attacking the Western representative in the Middle East, which is the state of Israel. And that's why we should join forces together. We shouldn't be afraid from a deterioration, because we are already in a deterioration. What could get worse than October 7th?
Okay, but there are a lot of people around the world, an increasing number, who feel that the way that Israel has behaved in Gaza and is behaving now is not sharing Western values. It is quite the opposite, and you've become more isolated as a result.
Look, I want to say two things around it, and we should look at the details, which I think sometimes they are overlooked. Two things. First, the numbers that you mentioned in your report about how many Gazians were killed, and we're going to face the same thing with Lebanon in a minute, is the numbers of the overall Gazians, or if you like, overall Lebanese. What? The terrorists are not getting killed in this conflict? It's only civilians that are getting killed. There are no terrorists that are involved in the fightings that are getting killed. So we know that in Gaza, about half of the casualties are terrorists, and we don't know the numbers yet with Lebanon.
Actually, we don't know the precise numbers. What we do know is that there's There's an enormous amount of destruction and a huge loss of life, and I'm afraid we really don't have time right now to litigate those numbers once again. So let's just leave it where it is now. Zarit Sahawi, thank you very much for coming on the programme.